Welcome back to Rocket League, brought to you by Astro Headsets and Dare Iced Coffee, live on One and Twitch. It's time to head across to our casters. But before we do, let's check in with you, Yummy Cheese Man. Do you have a prediction on this match?
This is going to be incredibly close. Again, it is the battle for second and third place. And we just saw in the interview that they weren't ready to answer questions. They were ready to play.
They're in the zone to play, yeah.
They did not want to sit and chat. They're up there. They're ready to win. But I think it's going to just edge out to Order. Historically, they've taken out in the last couple of months this matchup. So I think it'll be a 3-2 to Melbourne Order.
3-2 to Melbourne Order. Okay, that is Yummy Cheese Man's call. Over to you, Jim and Jake. Let's get into it.
Thanks again, gents. Welcome back. Hysterics Gymnasto, you know who we are by now. And this is going to be one of the biggest matches, if not of league play, of the day. Perth Ground Zero, Melbourne Order. Two teams very closely matched in skill. And this matchup has gone back and forth in the previous years.
Well, it's gone back and forth in our minds, at least, in the pre-game. We
felt like
about it when we've done our predictions. And I thought, I've seen enough from Perth to tip them in this particular matchup. I know I've gone against the grain apparently, but you yourself said that you fancy what
I think if you go to the Gfinity website, you'll find that I backed Perth Ground Zero as well. But if you go to socials, you'll find that I backed Melbourne Order. So I can't lose here, really.
Yeah, you hedged your bets, haven't you?
I've done it without even my knowledge. But you've got Dumbo coming in, and this is going to be the trifecta for Melbourne Order. So if there's some way they find, power in this series, it'll be through Dumbo.
Yeah, he is a real piece of the puzzle for Melbourne Order. And in terms of what he offers to the team, he fills a void that was missing for the last few weeks. But that is credit to the guys that have actually filled his shoes, in the sense that AOE Amp last week did a really good job providing a nice little outlet for them.
But it is the core roster, Perth Ground Zero, Melbourne Order. Game number 1, and it's not a Sydney team on the pitch this time. And there's the first shot, Perth Ground Zero off to a great start. Lost 3-0 against the Chiefs last week, but it was a close 3-0. It was also Perth Ground Zero going up against the best team, Melbourne Order. They haven't versed the Chiefs yet.
That's right. They haven't potentially been humbled by them either. So in terms of Ground Zero, they need to get themselves early into this match. They played a little bit direct before. Sirix really asking the question of the goalkeeper. And for Melbourne Order, Shady has been an absolute force in front of goals, and that nearly got the better of Sirix here, but he read that really well, actually, and prevents that one from going into the net early on. But you can just see how direct Perth Ground Zero are playing right now. They're not really they haven't really been able to build up anything just yet. They've just been dealing with some pressure here from Melbourne Order.
They've had a couple of shots already, though, so they haven't built anything up, but some couple of direct shots immediately. This is open. Express will get the first one for Melbourne Order.
And that is great counterplay from Melbourne Order in this piece here. Shady just linking up so nicely. Express, he knew he had an open net, and he doesn't miss those.
Full field passing play for Melbourne Order. They've had some pretty big clears so far, and that's what we know them for, but that first goal, really iconic to kick them off. That demolition doesn't do too much as Sick in Delusion commit to the clear, hits that back wall, and Express will just have to go up. Doesn't get the clear, so this can be intercepted, dunked down if Sirix gets that backboard, and he does. Goes close, but here's Sicky once again. The rotation's a lot cleaner from Perth Ground Zero. Sirix swipes in, but a good save there from Shady.
Shady to the rescue, and defense from Melbourne Order remains tight. But in terms of being able to push that ball upfield, Melbourne Order have certainly shown that they've got the goods, but this was a good passage of play from Perth Ground Zero. Delusion, he's a real revelation for them in the sense that his mechanical ability and his ability to read that ball off the backboard is really coming into play here. His development as a player throughout the Elite Series has been fantastic, and this experience for him is going to go really, really well towards building him into that complete player that we know that he's going to be.
Yep, first time on stage there for Delusion. For Perth Ground Zero, the confidence showcasing here is Delusion again, setting it up nicely. Express won't get a big clear, and this gives more control. Sicky blocked away by Shady as he clears it up, and the counter-attacks again. Melbourne Order do it so well as Dumbo goes up for the ball, but Delusion there first, and we said this is going to be close for a big reason. Only 1-0, 2 minutes 40 remaining, and Express struggling to get through the defense.
Yeah, a lot of play just being held up in the midfield at the moment for Perth Ground Zero. They're not really cracking that just at the moment, but they do push forward here, and they need to be just careful that they didn't commit too many numbers forward here. They are very much up in the midfield. They don't have anyone deeply set in that defense, but that's those balls that they need to be looking out for. There was a counter-attacking play that did result in a goal, so they need to be aware that they can't be caught off here.
Delusion drops down and Perth ground 0. Not struggling too hard, but at the moment they just need to make that play. That 1, 2, and 3 we saw before. Potential endless here for both these teams, but 2 minutes remaining and Syrinx has broken through. Delusion's coming up as well, and there's 2 defenders back, but Delusion's there. What a pass back. Ground 0 equalise.
And that's exactly what they needed as well. We knew Delusion was going to be a key piece of that puzzle for Perth ground 0, and you can see there, took his opportunity fully, did not miss whatsoever, and they're back on equal footing here. 2 minutes left to play, and that's a lot of Rocket League.
But to be commended, Perth ground 0 on the verge of trying to bring back game 1 and still equal. Express, a great pass to Dumbo, but the block there. They come very close. Shady committing forward to the play, but he's run out of boost. Sicky able to push it up, and Express, he's run out as well. Delusion's coming up. Syrinx is here in the passing play, ready to be committed to, but Dumbo, the last member, will enable it. Shady, ball just goes over his head.
That was a great play off the roof earlier, actually. I mean, if anybody is sitting there wondering, that's how we play Rocket League and OCE, upside down.
Yeah, no, makes sense to everyone but the Americans. 1 minute 20 remaining in front of net for Dumbo. The pass across to Shady, but a good intercept there from Sicky. Syrinx is mid, and he's on top, but it bounces over the top of the net. The crossbar back to Shady, and for Delusion, it's a good challenge there. You'll see Perth ground 0, they'll go for the challenges. In comparison to a team like Melbourne Avant, they might be a bit scared, they might commit members forward, but this is a lot cleaner play. As you see, the pass forward, that's a hard one to save as well.
We knew this was going to be an entertaining match, and I'll tell you what, it is delivered so far. This is game 1 of a best of 5, and that is a great pass there from Syrinx. Delusion went straight down the middle, almost safe, very difficult 1-2 save, but
also the pressure. Also the pressure there from Perth ground 0. They moved Shady into the ball, enabling that pass to be dead on. For Perth ground 0, they take the lead, 55 seconds remaining, and Melbourne Order starting to struggle here as the tempo goes up, and Perth ground 0 continuing to match them. 45 seconds for Express. Needs to pass it down, but again, run out of boost. Dumbo to complete. Shady here off the wall. Can he do anything with it? No, it's just cleared to the left wing. And for Delusion, he should be able to match this well, and does.
Dumbo just trying to maintain that ball's positioning up the field. Shady looking to link up, or even just go for the goal himself.
Another moment. Melbourne Order, they've just been given the ball there, so pressure looming over both these teams. Syrinx and Sicky. It's not what you normally see out of them, a lot cleaner. 26 seconds, 2 apiece.
And they were looking to link up to pass that ball out of play, but Shady just read that so well.
Both teams have been reading these plays well though, Gymnast, so it just hasn't been one play. For Express, off the backboard, Delusion. Essential that he clears that over as Syrinx helps him out. In front of the ball now for Melbourne Order. They just pass it back to Sicky, and we could just be going into our first overtime here, folks, with 10 seconds remaining. Syrinx the pass over to Sicky, but a great save there from Express. Fast to the ball, fast to the clear. The last play here for Melbourne Order. They're in front of net. Dumbo's there, and Syrinx trying to clear it away. He'll dunk it down, and overtime we go.
In this game, we knew it was going to go right down to the wire. Our predictions were split in that sense, and even after the first game, this is normally a testing phase for both these two teams, but these guys know each other so well. They played each other so many different times, and this is just another encounter between these two, and again, just so evenly matched, even though they do bring different styles to the mix.
Delusion almost taking advantage of that clear. A risky pass, but enables Shady to take a shot down. Setting it up for Shady again. It goes wide. Crossbars there. Express drops it. Defense was high. He tried to go low, but they said no. Immediately Perth ground 0. They get the demo off the wall. The ball's ready there. Standing tall is Syrinx.
That was a great play there. That demolition was key because there was nobody home really after that. As soon as they slipped that ball past the last remaining player, that is a win for Perth ground 0, and a well-earned one too, I might add, because they played some fantastic Rocket League in this match.
They played down from a goal there in game 1. This shows you how close these teams are, and when you've just watched Melbourne Avant take on Sydney Chiefs, you're saying, oh look, you know, we might just have 3-0s again today, but this sets the tone. 3-2. Look at the shots from each team, but Perth ground 0, after that first goal, feel like they switched on.
And to be honest too, looking at those stats across the board, Melbourne Order, that's probably the lowest amount of shots I've seen created from them as a team.
Yep.
So even going forward in those attacks, they weren't creating as many as they had in previous weeks.
But you have to look at the shots that came out of Perth ground 0. They got 3 goals in total, including that overtime goal. But Melbourne Order may have had 4 shots, but 50% of those went in. So more about accuracy there for Melbourne Order, but Perth Ground Zero laying down the pressure.
And they were very direct this week too, might I add, from Perth Ground Zero's perspective. Even from the get-go, they were forcing saves out of players on Melbourne Order. And that signals their intent. Shady there just reading that so well in the passing play, but this little breakaway play here from Sirix was the decider, and that commitment there at the back.
They're just so fast, Jim Nessa. They're always so fast, and that's what you define when you watch Perth Ground Zero. Sure, the Chiefs come from internationally, and they're playing a much faster ball game. But for Perth Ground Zero, they've been playing this game. A lot of ground passes there. Speedy, Gonzalez, the name himself. Sirix, he's had a pretty good game.
Yeah, it's probably faster than we've seen from Perth Ground Zero in recent weeks as well. They knew last week they were up against Chiefs and they had to bring something to the mix, and they didn't quite get there. Chiefs are a class side. But this week against Melbourne Order, they're looking a lot faster on the ball. And that's been the difference a lot of the times too. So I'm really keen to see what happens now in Game 2. How can Order adapt to that? Order are a great team because they get you in that midfield, they lock you in, they constrict you, they take your boost, and they just try and apply pressure from there on out. It didn't actually work because Perth were doing a good job of just conserving boost, but also reading that backboard play.
We'll find in Game 2 because there are a couple of defensive passes that didn't work out. Perth Ground Zero, Melbourne Order, game number 2. Things were close to start off with, but oh no. Bouncing right in front of the net, Sirix is up for the ball, off the backboard, set up nicely, but a miss there from Siki will enable Shady to express, and Delusion right down the middle. A bit of a banger to kick things off. Siki blocked again by Dumbo.
And that was, again, just a very direct play from Ground Zero. We said that this week.
Yep.
Very direct. And
that's why you commit.
Nearly read by Dumbo.
You'll have to hang back now because Delusion's got the runaway. From the corner, Shady. Again, one miss there. Siki over the top. It's not what you want to see. A tense situation from both, but it's that one moment that's going to define this first goal. The touch there from Siki, right to Sirix, who pops up for it. Delusion, but he doesn't get to it. Instead, Express gets freedom with the ball.
Just now looking to absorb some pressure that they know is going to be applied here by Melbourne Order. They know that that restrictive play from in the midfield is going to come. And this dribble here from Express.
Oh, right to Shady. Perfectly done from Melbourne Order.
That is some class Rocket League there. Express, he's a great player, and he links up so well with Shady.
Past Siki, past Delusion. Sirix can't get there because he's like, I thought my team had the ball. But Melbourne Order, Express comes up big, and that'll be their first goal yet again to kick off the game.
And that is some great team play. Served on a silver platter. Demolition on the goalkeeper here potentially could put some pressure on Perth, but they do deal with it for the moment. They need to get that ball clear though. Delusion does a good job, but this is where Melbourne Order are just trying to lock them in here.
For Sirix, getting an essential second touch there will enable it up for Shady to Siki. In front of the net, Delusion's committing up, but Sirix still hanging back, a little bit defensive, but he's read it right. He comes in off the backboard. And we're back to a 1-all game.
And they level that ledger, they square it, and that is a great pass there from Delusion. And Sirix, he's a class player, and he doesn't miss those.
But they're going to hit the backboard. Perth Ground Zero. They love it. They'll set it up nicely in the 1, 2, 3. And if I'm ever going to use that phrase, probably going to use it with Perth Ground Zero.
Oh, yes.
Dumbo.
So you should.
He should have had a direct shot on that there. Sirix may have been back, but oh well. Melbourne Order back out of the offense now as they pass it forward. Maybe back into it, I should say. Dumbo from the corner. A miss there again as Melbourne Order have to repurpose themselves towards that attack. But Shady hanging back in the defense, just trying to get it clear. He'll pop it forward, but Sirix intercepts it again off that backboard. That isn't the ideal touch. Dumbo can't get to it. It's a light, brisk bit of wind that sends it towards the net. And Siki, he'll lose possession, given back to Melbourne Order. And Sirix is on the defense, but I'm not sure that's the most ideal touch. As Shady again comes around, but no one committing up.
Dealt with there by Siki, just pushed away. And this starts things as Sirix.
How did he do it? Ask yourself one question. He just stole that out of Melbourne Order's hand. Who was it? Express came up. Sirix wins out.
Sirix just pilfering that one there.
He really was.
Pinching it out of the back line and pushing it into the back of the net. And that is exactly the kind of break that Perth Ground Zero need. In the last game, they had to come from behind. They've been able to just grind their way back in here again. But can they go further? Can they put another stop to Melbourne Order here? And if they can maintain pressure, it's a breakaway here now for Shady, but he gets dealt with. If they can maintain that pressure, keep that ball down the opposite end of the field and just make, I guess, Melbourne Order fuel the pressure that they do like to apply teams themselves, they might be able to sneak a few goals here. So, Delusion, he's been a great asset to them so far in the game. Can he push that ball further? Sirix is also menacing in front of the net. They're going to need more from him.
The miss there from Shady. It'll be left over for Siki. Another clear that comes out from ground zero. Express meets it, but Shady and Dumbo, they're not coming forward. They're waiting for Perth ground zero. They want to get that defensive clear and then push. Dumbo starts it off, has no boost, goes over the top of Siki. Sirix isn't there. It hits the crossbar. Coming back in, a light cut from Express, but Sirix saves it away. Perth ground zero, they've brought their A-game, a defense that is matched nicely. They get the clear, they've forced Shady to go back up. Delusion and Sirix are there, the demolition as well, over the top, over again, and ladies and gentlemen, Siki says it's mine.
That demolition from Sirix, just making sure that there was nobody between those sticks whatsoever. Just that little bump there. There's no one home after that, and Siki open net, and I tell you what, open invitation, he takes it.
But not just that, I think Perth ground zero are playing better than anyone could have expected today. Melbourne Order, they might be dropping the ball a little bit, but A-game being brought by Perth ground zero, and after last week, after taking the loss to the Chiefs, they've gone back, they've shown their growth once again, which is the key word here at the Gfinity Elite Series. And off that backboard, still not getting peppered enough from Melbourne Order. Minute 20, 2-goal lead. The centre pass, Express steals it away, but a pinch out of the goal. Might have been going towards that top 90 for Shady, a direct on. But Delusion hands it off to Sirix. Siki comes back in, and a minute 10 remaining. This is good offense. Dumbo ducks it down. Melbourne Order finally secure it.
A great little bump there as well in the back play that just made sure the goalkeeper could not read that whatsoever. And I think, fantastic play. But this is going to set up a really fast and furious last minute of play for both these two teams. Perth ground zero bringing the speed. Melbourne Order bringing that passing play and that constrictive midfield play that we know them so well for. And, I mean, this is a recipe for a fantastic match, and it's certainly entertaining.
Oh, Siki up for the ball again. Where is the need from Melbourne Order? For a 3-2, they're coming close. The pass downfield, Dumbo's wide, but it just goes over his head once again. Express has to hang back. Shady comes forward, and after picking up the boost, immediately Perth ground zero. They change themselves to the attack. Siki in a good position, hits it towards net. The angle wasn't quite right. Delusion pauses it for a little bit, enables Siki to recover, and from this corner again, Express needed that touch, and he gets it.
And this has been so direct and aggressive from Perth ground zero.
Oh no! Delusion! Dumbo paces himself towards that goal. 20 seconds. That could have been the defining moment for Melbourne Order to bring themselves back into this series, or even that. Shady's saved away by Delusion. Dumbo comes in, blocked again, crossbar, bounces down, it doesn't go in, finally! Express, my lord!
Oh dear.
That is every player's worst nightmare, and Express manages to get it through with 6 seconds left on the clock.
And everybody's looking to the VAR for that one. I tell you what, though, this is a massive, massive moment in this match, and it takes things into overtime. And Perth ground zero, that aggressive and direct play from them has paid dividends, but Melbourne Order's own game style is working as well.
I was about to say, it's not over just yet. It's hit that backboard, and Perth ground zero just need to slam it down. Demolition! That'll do it! Mr. Nesso, it is not over until that ball hits the ground at 0 seconds. The demolition opens it up, and Express, a nail biter. He secures the third goal. He secures the fourth goal. And this is why Rocket League's such a damn good game.
And I tell you what, Melbourne Order have flipped the tables entirely on Perth ground zero and said, you know what, we can play aggressive and direct as well. And that is a great showcase for Rocket League. But Melbourne Order created so much more in this matchup. Look at that. Their shots were 13 as opposed to the last match where they only created 4.
Let's take a step back for a second. How did Express secure that goal? Multiple shot opportunities, saved twice by Perth ground zero. The third and final, Express manages to recover and knock it in. Melbourne Order, I said Perth ground zero bringing their A game, but Melbourne Order have fought back, and that's what I like to see. One apiece here. And this is a defining moment because in future, we could see this walking towards the semi-finals. We could see this walking towards the finals itself. And to verse a team like the Chiefs, who a lot of teams are assuming will be at that position, this could be your biggest rival.
It could be. And I mean, we looked at the fixture list and we circled this one and we thought that one's going to be a key matchup. That one is going to be two evenly matched teams. And when they go battling head to head, it's going to produce some fantastic plays. And that is certainly one of them there. Express and Shady, they've been the dynamic duo so far for Melbourne Order, and that is case in point. They're just serving goals up on a silver platter. But not to be unanswered by Perth Ground Zero, because they were fast, they were direct, and they were aggressive in this match, and it worked for them.
Delusion and Sirius
they fell off in the end.
Demolition as well. Oh, hang on. I'm going to hear my own voice.
Again.
Is this the moment?
Gentlemen,
No, not quite. That's all right. Perth Ground Zero got a 3-1 to start off. Melbourne Order, each and every game, they've gotten the first goal. Sometimes it hasn't been enough. There was a 3-2 score, which we saw in game 1. But then this moment here, ladies and gentlemen, great defense from Perth Ground Zero. Everyone's scrambling for the ball, but Express comes back out, and that young man has the feeling of all of us inside of him. At overtime,
It was
not even overtime.
0 seconds.
That ball has hit the ground. That's why we're saying Perth just have to knock it down, but they didn't. And Melbourne Order, they take us to a game 3 that gets even spicy, Jim Nessa.
Oh, yes, and I'm looking forward to Game 3. It's going to be an interesting match in the sense that both these two teams have flexed in the first 2 games, and it's just building.
So for Melbourne Order now, where do you go? Because you have that, I guess, momentum in the series. Perth Ground Zero were managing to sneak these goals away, but finally they're putting on the attack and they're actually rotating cleanly.
That's right. Now, I mean, there's a momentary reprieve for these teams as they're going to take a break, but it's all on Perth Ground Zero now. How do they recover from this? They had that. They will feel like they had that game in the bag, and they were doing all the right things. But at the last gasp, Melbourne Order just stole it away.
One thing I know about both of these teams, it's not over until it's over. Ladies and gents, we're going to throw to a quick break. I can't even get words in my mouth. I'm going to try when we come back for game number 3.
Welcome back to the G4D Elite Series Rocket League edition right now. We're looking at this sweet goal we just saw from Express. They got them game 2, and there's little legend Lewis just cutting sick in the crowd. Getting into it. Come on down and get into it here in Sydney. We'd love to have you here at the Gfinity Elite Series presented by Alienware. Right now, though, are we going to cross back to Ashley Wells. Ash, what's going on? What you up to?
Hey, thank you. I'm just hanging out in the warm-up room with Shots, who is the manager of Sydney Raw. Now, today's an important match for you guys. It's Deceptors versus Raw. Neither of you have made a win. So how have you guys been preparing?
So we've made a new change in the roster. We've brought in a new player to change the dynamic a little bit. And hopefully we can pull a win this week. But I think the main goal is to practice for week 5, because that's the main way we can make finals.
Yeah. So do you think you can make the playoffs? Do you think today's a definite win for you?
I think today will be a confidence booster for the guys, so they can finally get a win on the board. And yeah, I think we can take it to AV next week for sure.
Cool. So are you going to join the boys practicing while the next game's happening at the moment?
Look, I maybe have 10 hours, so that's probably not a good idea. But yeah, I think I believe in them.
All right, great. Well, we'll leave them to practice. Thank you so much for talking to me, and I will see you out there.
Thank you.
Back to you, Luke.
Thanks, Ash. Right now, let's get back into the match we're in. It is really just kicking off here, isn't it? Melbourne Order just starting to show some form. Hey, Yummy?
Oh, for sure. And it was a real struggle, I think, for Dumbo. We talked about him as the question mark coming in, whether he'd be able to perform. And he was really struggling to go forward and attack the ball. I think a lot of the goals, well, not a lot of the goals, a couple of the goals that came through were because he was just booking it back to defense. But I think with that aggressive play, that like being put into the corner right at the end is going to give him a lot of more confidence. And I think that if we can get him to be aggressive and attacking throughout this game, then he'll have a much better chance.
Well, I'm excited to see how this goes. Huge gameplay kicking off here for Rocket League. Let's get into the next one. Over to you, Jim and Jake.
Yes, thanks, gents. There's no point pausing now. Hysterics Gymnessa, but don't worry about that. We're into game 3. Order have just taken, I'd say even stolen one back after that close play. And what we remember is we're not going to call it game over until the ball has hit the ground.
Well, that's right. That was a perfect example of what we'd call a 0-second goal.
Yeah.
That ball just sat and didn't touch the ground. And from Order's perspective, they'll be lapping that up, because otherwise it was overtime at that particular point of the match. And we're back at 1 apiece here, so effectively this is now a best of 3, because both teams have dialed it back. They've got their first match. And I'm predicting, and I'll be disappointed if I get less than 5 games here, because these guys are really neck and neck.
Well, we're not going to predict here, because right now it's so close. And Perth Ground Zero, Melbourne Order, there's family, there's fans in the audience, and the fans are going to see that Express is just firing left, right and centre.
It is a very ranged attempt as well. Just recognising that there was an opening there for him to be welcomed into this match. And with 11 seconds on the board, they've capitalised on just a defensive blip.
But not only that, for Melbourne Order, this is so important to get that first goal. They've done it time and time again. Now getting the other one is the hard part. Dumbo up for the ball. Shady here as well. The attack continues. Shady almost getting it over Delusion, but a good read by him. Express waits patiently, but Siki there with the drop down. Sirik's not going to go up for it just yet, but Dumbo is. This enables the midfield pass, but Siki steals it away, comes through again, wide, hits the bar, Delusion's up. 1, 2 and 3, ladies and gentlemen. Perth Ground Zero do it so well.
And they just put numbers there as well. That was a wider hit from Siki, but Delusion, make no mistake, he announces himself.
Part of the plan, Gymnessa. 1 apiece. Perth Ground Zero. This happens every single game. But from here, it's anyone's guess after what we just saw.
And that is a great way to just make sure that they made amends for that opening early goal that they conceded. But it's back to an equal playing field now, as they do look to go a little bit more direct. We said in the first 2 matches they were aggressive, they were direct on goal, and their plays, funnily enough, were mirrored in the end of that last match by Melbourne Order. The aggressive direct play with the bumps on the goalkeeper came into effect and worked so well.
With these clears coming back down, they need to go beyond that. A minute's passed and Shady hasn't got the best clears. Sirix enables Perth Ground Zero to move up. He doesn't have much boost, but Delusion's coming in hot. Lobs it and Siki won't commit. Immediately Melbourne Order, this counter-attack could be looking good as Shady's in a great location. Sets himself up, goes wide. and Express has just been having a stellar performance. He now waits patiently with the ball, but it's been stolen across again, back and forth like a game of ping pong here. Getting the field, but Dumbo's managed to hang back. Sirix is there. What a pass down from ground zero.
And Sirix was just waiting for that one too. Delusion, nice pass there. Sirix, make no mistake, he just beat Shady out to the ball as well, put into the bottom of the net, and Perth Ground Zero find themselves a nice little lead here, but they know that they cannot rest.
Sirix has been banging that ball into the net here in this series. So 2-1. But it ain't over. We all know that. Delusion up to Siki. Again, steals it away. Melbourne Order on the defensive. Express is there, but a pass to Delusion goes directly to Express. The ball bouncing out of the corner, but they're trying to shut down Melbourne Order, keep them in their side of the field. A defensive pass that Sirix doesn't commit for, but Siki comes in and steals the ball away. Now for Sirix and Delusion, they should be able to push up, and they do. Delusion, Siki, the ball's there, bounces, and Melbourne Order now getting themselves demoed on the back line. It won't stop their attack whatsoever. Dumbo loses the ball to Sirix.
Just looking now to build something out of that midfield, but they need to get that ball past Melbourne Order. They're just doing what they do so well. They're just locking them into the midfield at the moment. But here's a reprieve here. Here's an attacking play potentially. If they can't deal with that ball, it could be trouble because Delusion has been harassing that back line as well. More importantly, once he goes for that attacking play, he's been able to just defensively keep that ball in the midfield too, so that ball stays in danger areas that Melbourne Order need to deal with. But a reprieve here. But there could be potential if someone's following that ball up, dealt with by Shady and brought down.
And dealt with nicely as well, Mr. Nesso. Shady over the top, Delusion there. Pretty consistent performance here from Delusion today. And Sirix with the ball, now committing forward. The Melbourne Order just trying to get that clear across. Against the wall, see if they can reposition themselves. There's Sirix over to Siki, bounces back and forth. Is this a runaway? No, it's not. It's been denied by Perth Ground Zero. Dumbo gets a bit of the EU clear going there over to Sirix. But still, 2-1. Perth Ground Zero holding the pace on that ball. Sirix will walk forward and they let them get in their side of the field. I'm not sure if this is the right move for Express. The path to Shady's interrupted. Siki gets there, but the second touch is not being enabled by Perth Ground Zero. A minute 30 remaining as it hits off the roof. Melbourne Order try to steal it away. Cheating to the ball. Again, Shady's there. Drop down for Express, but blocked away.
Been a very even contest between these two teams so far. That fast, aggressive, direct play from Perth Ground Zero hasn't actually been effective in this match because they haven't been as quick to the ball. So Melbourne Order are doing a good job of just restricting their boost and just denying them that opportunity to gain speed by draining those tanks just somewhat. Game very much still in the balance right now as both these two teams are really having a battle, a contest in the midfield for that ball. But Delusion is having a really solid game in terms of defensive plays, but also making sure that they're enabling that midfield attack to continue.
But this is it. It's the play you want to see. Demolition will stop any shot potential from Melbourne Order. 40 seconds and Ground Zero may have just run away with this one. The ball bouncing down. They're setting themselves up for the third, but I think a mistouch there potentially. Delusion to Siki once again. Dumbo over the top. As Express lobs it up. Shady not going to commit as Sirix just has a shot directly on goal. Dumbo left it in. Weren't expecting that one, but Perth Ground Zero 3-1.
Yeah, I don't think Dumbo actually had the boost to deal with that either. So he needed to get there quickly and
I'm not sure what happened there. Quiz that a little bit later.
Sirix, the opportunist. And this third game here looks to be going Ground Zero's way. I'm very hesitant in saying that because I just saw a game stolen at the death.
Yeah, but you got 2 goals. You got 10 seconds of Perth Ground Zero. They're keeping up on the attack. That might have been the last chance for Siki. The last one blocked away, but it's not going to matter whatsoever. Melbourne Order, they send themselves down the side of the field. But Perth Ground Zero, they've done it. Game number 3 goes to them. 2-1 lead.
Ground Zero, it was always going to be a difficult task for them because they needed to mentally reset after having that last game taken away from them at the death. So for them, it's very difficult to lose a game in those sort of circumstances, and that really tests the team's resolve.
But you know what as well, for Perth Ground Zero, they've been in this position before. They've been down in goals or down in games. They're one of the most, I guess, underrated teams in OCE because they can always come back. Let's count out, going against the Chiefs. But any other team, you kind of don't know if they're going to lose or going to win a game. So a 2-1 lead That's a great start, but now they have to close it out because Melbourne Order, we saw what they're capable of, and in Game 3, we kind of didn't see that same level of play again.
That's right, and I think in this game as well, Delusion was a key player for them at both ends, in the sense that he was able to make sure that he was doing work on the back line, 2 saves to him, as well as 4 shots too. So he's able to convert with 1 goal, so not as good as his regular conversion rate, but either way, they're going forward and creating chances here in Sirix. He was an absolute menace. You need to make sure that your passes connect when there's a player like Sirix around, because he's just going to read that play so well. He's got a lot of experience on his shoulders, and that really showed here in this third match.
Sirix just scoring left, right, and centre here today. And Game 3 was a little bit close, but in reality, Perth Ground Zero, they took that a lot more convincingly than any other game. 3-2 in the first one, and now with that lead, are they going to be able to shut it out? Because I don't think anyone can definitively answer that question, mind you.
Well, as we said, from start to finish, this match was a coin flip. Who was going to play better on the day? Who was going to enable them, their strikers a little bit more? Who was going to service them well? And so far, it has been down to the wire between these two teams. Perth Ground Zero had a great third game, but can they maintain that pressure? Can they take it into this match number 4? Because Melbourne Order, we know that they're a class side. We know that they're capable of great Rocket League, and also, more importantly, those passing plays that Express and Shady link up for.
But hang on, there was a demolition onto Delusion. That pushes him out of position. Express, what a pass! But Sirix reads it well. They get the counter-attack immediately. And Perth Ground Zero, just when you think they're going to let one in, they turn it all around.
Well, funnily enough, you said that demolition on Delusion was going to be key. What it did is it gave Melbourne Order maybe a sense of false confidence in pushing too many forward. They thought they had the player advantage and didn't need to check back and track back. And they got punished on the counter really quickly by Perth Ground Zero, so good start for them already.
And they're right back in front of the net where they apparently belong. For Shady, as he pops it up, this is the play! Again, Sirix having a great game, but Dumbo's just brought it back down. Shady won't get the ball, and Sirix again. Sirix, Delusion, I think all 3 members from Perth Ground Zero having a great series. For Delusion, he found one again, but Shady will just clear it away. Can they get the counter-attack? They're known for it. They deal with it quite a lot from Perth Ground Zero as well, but still that 1 goal with 4 minutes remaining.
Shady and Express are going to be the keys to this match for Melbourne Order. They link up so well, they pass that ball so well, dealt with off the backboard there by Siki, but if they can string those passes together, they're always menacing in front of goal, particularly Shady. We know that he's had a fantastic Elite Series so far, and he's been a really shining star for Melbourne Order. But they're going to need more from him in this matchup. They are down in this, and I mean, this is series point too from Melbourne Order's perspective. They need this match.
But Express has been the shining light. No. Siki takes it away again. Perth Ground Zero, is that it? They have not started a game with a goal, but for game number 4, they deny expectations of who's going to strike first. 2-0. Melbourne Order, they are in a lot of trouble.
However, as we've seen before, the pendulum does swing both ways. So I'm just hoping that Melbourne Order can be the next ones to score here. And
you just want to see a game 5, Jim.
I do.
Selfishness, of course. But I'll join that train. For Shady, can he enable that first one? Lobs it down, Sirix, the pass to Delusion. And Dumbo just lobs it back downfield for Express. He's coming forward. This is an opportunity, but Express goes under the ball. He's been having such a good series. It's a shame to see that, but Dumbo brings it back in. Off that back wall, Express trying to redeem himself. He'll come in off the corner. Shady launches at it as well. And Perth Ground Zero, they manage to continue to the defence.
Uncharacteristic from Express as well, because that's, I guess, his defining feature. He's so clinical with his passes. He's so clinical with his shots as well. And uncharacteristic to see him missing there, and maybe just a sign that Melbourne Order haven't quite got things going just yet in this match number 4. And they need to quickly though, because time is running out and they've got 2 goals to try and find.
That's right, but Sirix keeping it down this side of the field is not what Melbourne Order want. Delusion to the other side. Masicki down to Sirix. That is a great clear heading towards net, and Shady just sends it sideways. Sirix brings it back down, and first to the ball again. Delusion bringing it back forward. They butt heads, and Dumbo is just not really getting full control of the ball. The clear back from Shady, 2 minutes remaining, and like you said, Jim Nesso, the time could have run out, but here it is from Melbourne Order once again. It's easily defended.
Melbourne Order now with Shady. If he gets that ball first, he doesn't actually get past Delusion. We're looking to start that attacking play. Now Dumbo's been a key
finally
Order, and he's finally awoken. He's been putting in a save or two at the back and really defensively minded for them, but he needed to go forward and enable them in front of goal, and he's done just that. He sneaks one past.
Oh, speaking of enabling, Express with a beautiful pass there through the defense of Perth Ground Zero. Melbourne Order, a minute 50, 1 goal. They're back somewhere. But a minute 45 to be back there. Shady. You can see the anger, the passion from Melbourne Order. The dinosaur came out once. You want to see it again. Express around the corner. Can Shady recover? He can't. He's facing the wrong way. Sirik's trying to run away with the ball. Perth Ground Zero. They can taste the series win. But Melbourne Order, they're chomping down in front of that backboard. A quick demolition onto Dumbo. And that'll quell it for now.
You really want to see that dinosaur once again. You want to see them getting T-wrecked.
Of course. Doesn't everyone? Clear from Perth Ground Zero. But Melbourne Order got other plans. Shady with the ball. In the midfield, Express, that's a good launch, but Sicky, Reed just as well. For Dumbo now, what can he achieve? Trying to bring the ball back down, it's not red! He gets it through! A great dribble there from Dumbo. But at the end of the day, Perth Ground Zero, the pressure is there. 3 members in defence and no one hit that ball.
Tyrannosaurus wrecked, but we were waiting for that from Dumbo. We were waiting for him to come into this matchup, and finally he announces his arrival in Game 4. It's been a quiet series for him so far. He's been doing a lot of work at the back in terms of defence, but going forward he enables them so much more, and if you can add a third prong to your attack, you're looking even more deadly in front of...
Oh, the bench, he's got it through!
Wow. So many twists and turns in this game.
Oh, say that again, Jim Nesso. 43 seconds. And that bit, I want to say unfortunate, but Sicky was dead on the mark. 43 seconds, 1 goal. Here we go.
Just smothering it a little bit more too as well. He needed to because he was up against an Octane. Dominus on Octane. And it's not often you see those 50-50s go the way of the Dominus, that's for sure.
Oh, again, the pass. Perth Ground Zero.
They're out for blood.
You can't blink. As soon as you give space to Perth Ground Zero, this is what happens. Sicky in Game 4 has just switched on as well. 35 seconds, 2-goal lead. All right, it's happened before, ladies and gentlemen. Melbourne Order aren't out yet, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, I'm not discounting them. This isn't a rug sale. And from Melbourne Order's perspective, they can certainly do it.
Pitiful. 25 seconds remaining. Ground Zero there on the attack, and it doesn't look good for Melbourne Order, but Delusion, is he back in time? Express for the ball. He comes in slight, but are there any misses that can be achieved here? No, there aren't. Off the backboard, Delusion brings it back down. And for Perth Ground Zero, for a lot of people, this is an upset. But Jim Nesso and I, we sit here happy because we said it. Don't look at Twitter, look at the website. Perth Ground Zero, they'll take a 3-1 over Melbourne Order.
And there we go. Making sure that this was a nail-biting series to the very end. Melbourne Order did not stop trying to push forward for that attack, but Perth Ground Zero, they will be very happy with that effort. They really warmed into these games and they looked so convincing in front of goals as well. Delusion, fantastic asset for this team in terms of what he's able to offer to the team from front to back. He was involved in absolutely everything in those first 2 matches. That 3rd match, very, very key for him. Didn't need to do as much in his 4th match. Sirix and Sicky, these two, they were running the show for a lot of it.
See, for the first time, I think, even though it was a 3-1, if I personally picked an MVP, I'd start looking at someone like Express. I think Express had a very good series despite a couple errors there, but on the side of Perth Ground Zero, it is really hard to pick anyone. Delusion was on for a couple of games of the series, and then Sicky finished it off so nicely with Sirix. So I'm going to lost Perth Ground Zero once again on top as win another series.
Well, Sirix as well also really came into play there. He was in every match key for Perth Ground Zero. So there were a few moments where I had my heart in my mouth because Melbourne Order really took it to them in the end. And
they did.
Those aggressive plays. Once Melbourne Order started bringing those out, the demolitions, the bumps on goal, really rattled Perth a little bit and allowed them to just sneak in for that Game 3. And I thought, okay, we've got a series on our hands here, but Perth Ground Zero put that one to rest in match 4.
Well, 3-1, it was close, but Perth Ground Zero take the win as we throw it back to Luke and Yummy on the desk.
It was a close match, but Perth Ground Zero too good. And your first incorrect prediction, Yummy?
I'm not a very good analyst, apparently.
No, come on. You're amazing. You're wonderful.
Should I just go?
No, I want you to stay, please. I need you. Yummy, tell me, let's talk about that. I mean, was it, because Order really looked like they had a shot there for a while, didn't they?
They did. There were some struggles, and I think, again, the question mark around Dumbo was answered maybe one way instead of what we hoped for. But it was a great performance by Perth Ground Zero, especially by the end. That was when all three players were on top of their game, and that's why it ended up being a 4-0 right at the end. Or not a 4-0, 4-2. A very convincing win right at the end. And that's a lot of growth, because last week, Sydney Chiefs, they kind of fell apart a little bit. The pressure, I think, got to them too much. This week, they finally found their form. It's a good sign, because in the playoffs, they're most likely going to have to return and again take down Melbourne Order.
Yes, well, Perth Ground Zero really on form today, so we're going to go over to Ash, who's chatting to him right now in pretty top form. How they doing, Ash?
Yeah, I'm hanging out here with Sirix. Congratulations on your win. It was a bit tight. Were you expecting Melbourne Order to play the way that they did today?
No, I feel like they didn't have the best day. They're actually a lot better than they looked today. I was expecting like a 3-2, maybe even overtime, game 5. But I guess we just played well today, yeah.
There were some absolutely amazing goals happening today. Did you have any highlights at all?
I wasn't paying attention, sorry.
I was too busy winning, But the crowd was going absolutely wild for you guys. Does the energy of the crowd really help you guys out? Is it exciting for you?
Yeah, it definitely helps. We definitely heard Delusion's family. They came over this weekend, and yeah, they were very loud. So it really helped.
Yeah, thanks for the support, guys, and congratulations on your win, and looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table next week.
Thank you.
Back to you, Luke.
All right, let's get into some match analysis now. Yummy, where are we starting? Well, obviously with all the goals.
I think game 1 is a good place to start in this analysis. And right off the bat, we saw a little bit of struggles coming out from Siki, normally the main striker, but it was Sirix who really took his position to score a lot of these goals.
Express off the bat early there.
Oh, Express was so good in the first couple of games. I think he's been the most consistent player across the entire Elite Series so far, but this is where it finally started happening. Delusion finding that positioning. It was still a close couple of first games as they were feeling each other out. We saw this 26-second goal, but it did not matter. In overtime, we still have Sirix. And that was important because he was outpacing his opponents. He's a very deliberate player.
He had a great game, didn't he?
He likes to react. And this time he's getting there. And what a goal.
Yeah.
Coming back. This was the start of Melbourne Order on their return. I think that was a big confidence booster with Express getting a major air dribble. Sirix, again, he scored a lot of goals throughout this section. 5 goals in the first 3 games, and that was so crucial for Melbourne Order. And Delusion, he normally is the one who's trying to get too involved, can often be their downfall. This time, he was the perfect middleman, holding his position well, getting some good saves throughout the series, and just,
this goal.
Let this speak for itself.
Crazy
I was
moment.
Screaming at this one, go across the line. You hate to see it just hold there, and luckily Express finally got it. And that was Dumbo finally finding that confidence to run forward. And it really felt like whenever Dumbo had some space, he was really good. He scored a lot of goals when he had time on the ball. But anytime he was under pressure, when somebody was coming to challenge, it was too much. That's another example of Siki. He would normally sink that 10 out of 10 every day of the week. A bit of a rough start, and it was game 4 for Siki. Still in game 3, but this was a real gritty series, I think, coming out from Perth Ground Zero. Game 4, this is where Siki stepped up. Neither of his teammates had a single shot, and Melbourne Order were desperate to score goals. You saw them really commit super hard, and again, go back to the play it like a pro section. The counterattacks coming out from Perth Ground Zero were marvellous. Dumbo, another mistake there. He just got tripped up on the line.
But came back well here. A couple of good scores from Dumbo.
As we said, like, if he's got time on the ball, he's perfect. He had 2 goals right here. He put the defence in panic mode. None of them were challenging, but it doesn't make up
for that. Just got away from it, didn't it?
It meant that they were tied up. If they were in the lead, Melbourne Order are one of the best teams in OCE at holding a lead, but if they're behind, it's really hard for them to get back up to pace. Ground Zero going at it, Lewis going at it too, and what a fantastic last game. 4 goals, 4 shots for Siki, while his teammates didn't get a single shot in that one.
It really was a great match all round. Right now, it's time to find out who is the winner of our Astro MVP. A lot of solid performances in that match, Dave, but who was it for you?
I think this one, kind of obvious from what I was saying, with Siki falling down a little bit, the captain, Sirix, really ploughing forward, really getting the finishes, the clean-up job on so many of these goals, and his striking was on point, not missing anything. It's actually one of his biggest strengths. He doesn't get a lot of chance to go forward, but when he does, his accuracy on net is pinpoint. All of these shots are in the top half, getting it past an opponent, outpacing the Melbourne Order defense, and really securing that game 1 and game 3, which were so crucial.
And also such a strong leader for his team, isn't he, with that experience?
Definitely. He's been at so many lands. He's really like a solid, stable point for the team to move around. And when you have someone like that who can hold back normally and hold the defense, it just lets Siki and Delusion be free to do whatever they want.
Well, a great captain. Well done, Sirix. You are the MVP for that match.